With everything happening with driver moves and contract negotiations, Mick Schumacher seems to be getting missed out of discussions. The German driver has finally scored some points in his second year at the Haas F1 team, but has he done enough to earn himself a seat for next year? Team boss Gunther Steiner has been making moves to ensure that if Mick doesn't prove himself in the remaining 9 races, he will have a backup. So who is the favourite to take Mick's place in 2023? And if Mick loses his place at Haas, where can he go? Let's check it out. Mick's life in Formula 1 hasn't exactly been easy. His debut season in 2021 was ruined by Haas's decision to spend almost no time on the car and instead focus its efforts on the 2022 car. That decision clearly worked for the team, as returning driver Kevin Magnussen picked up points in 3 of the opening 4 races. Mick wasn't quite able to replicate this success though, and actually withdrew from the second race of the season after his multiple million-dollar crash in qualifying. It was in Monaco that things really couldn't get worse for the young Schumacher. Mick's crash at the Monaco Grand Prix looked worse than it was when his car split in 2 upon impact with the barrier at the swimming pool chicane. Nonetheless, it represented another hefty repair bill for Haas, and we all know Gunther Steiner hates spending money on crashes. Schumacher's performance level was also a concern, but the British and Austrian rounds marked a turning point as the German racer finally scored his first Formula 1 points with solid drives, while the mistakes now seem to have dried up. This has not come about by chance though. After Monaco, Schumacher knew he needed to reassess his Formula 1 career and the motivations for having it if he was to do better. "I knew I had to do something to improve my performance," he told the media. "I think I had to reflect on everything that had happened, but also on why I'm here in Formula 1. A big part of that is because I love the sport." Remembering his love for the sport clearly worked, as 2 races later at the Canadian Grand Prix, Gunther Steiner said he saw a change in mentality from Mick, and then at the next race at Silverstone, he scored his first ever points, followed by a big haul at the Austrian Grand Prix the race after. Despite his success though, contract negotiations for 2023 haven't begun, and Haas's choice of FP1 test driver for 2 races later in the season has destabilised Mick's position on the team again. Gunther Steiner and team owner Gene Haas have made the decision to give Antonio Giovinazzi a return to Formula 1, with 2 FP1 outings for Haas during the final 9 race weekends of the season. The Italian was released by Alfa Romeo at the end of the 2021 campaign, as Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou replaced Giovinazzi and the retiring Kimi Raikkonen. The American team has confirmed that Giovinazzi will get behind the wheel of the VF22 in FP1s at Monza and the Circuit of the Americas. Kevin Magnussen and Mick Schumacher will both vacate a session each for the Italian. Ferrari were keen to give Antonio some seat time in a current spec Formula 1 car on a race weekend, and we were naturally happy to assist, said Haas boss Gunther Steiner of this new arrangement. "We enjoyed a similar situation back in 2017 with Antonio and Ferrari. The clear difference between then and now is the experience he'll have gained competing for the previous 3 seasons in Formula 1 and the feedback he'll be able to give us in Italy and America." Due to Giovinazzi having raced in Formula 1 previously, these 2 FP1 sessions won't count towards their 2 junior driver sessions for the year. The fact it doesn't count for their junior driver sessions makes this move even more noticeable. It may just be that Ferrari are calling in a contractual obligation they have over Haas, but it could be much more. If it isn't a contractual obligation, then this is definitely a move by Haas to sound out his possible return. Considering his performance in Formula E though, where he drove after leaving Formula 1, is he really the right choice for a seat? The 28-year-old has struggled from his first testing session onwards, being the only regular driver among the 22 not to score a point. Despite that, he is excited to be back driving in the new regulation of Formula 1 cars. "Besides simulator driving, it is important to test a true car, and I can't wait to put my suit and helmet back on," Giovinazzi said. "It'll be an opportunity to get confident with the new generation cars. It's the best way to be ready if I were called as a reserve driver." Giovinazzi will have to really impress Gunther Steiner if he intends to take Mick's seat for the next year. The Italian driver had a fairly forgettable time at Alfa Romeo in 2020 and 2021, and with Daniel Ricciardo potentially one of the options as Mick's replacement, you can't imagine he's a front runner. Obviously, Mick's future is not completely out of his hands. As team principal Gunther Steiner has revealed the single criteria that Mick Schumacher must achieve to secure a new F1 contract, and in theory, it's very achievable. Asked if he'd seen a change in Schumacher since he broke his scoring duck, Steiner told the media, "No, I would say it started in Canada. He was, in my opinion, a bit more chilled out, even if he didn't score points there. I don't know why that happened. I have no idea. Don't ask me why. I just feel like he was a little bit more relaxed, and then the race after, the points came." On what Schumacher needs to do to convince him to greenlight a new deal, Steiner added, "Score more points." Sounds easy, doesn't it? Just score more points, Mick. If only it was that easy though. Fortunately, things are looking very good for Mick. Before the Canadian Grand Prix, his average finishing position was 14th, when you exclude the retirement in Monaco and the race he didn't start in Jeddah. In the 4 races since the Canadian Grand Prix though, his average finishing position was 10.75. That is a huge improvement and shows that something has definitely changed. He currently sits 4 points behind 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel and the very well thought of Pierre Gasly. Looking further up, he's only 7 points behind Daniel Ricciardo and then 10 behind teammate Kevin Magnussen. From a Haas point of view, if Mick can at least match Kevin's point haul, then he will have earned his place for 2023. Former F1 driver Timo Glock recently spoke about Mick's place in F1 and thinks everything depends on whether or not Haas needs money. He said, "Maybe they need a driver who brings money. That would be a difficult position for Mick because Haas has lost a strong backer in Nikita Mazepin. The question of the financial situation among Americans is a question mark, and that could be crucial for Mick's future." Glock is convinced, however, that Schumacher will get the chance to continue to prove his talent. He saw a lot of potential in the weekends before the summer break. He saw development, and as long as that development continues, he will get his seat. That is why I'm convinced that we will see Mick back in Formula 1 in 2023. We'll have to wait and see where that will be. I'm curious myself. Timo Glock has said what many people are thinking. If Mick does get a seat for 2023, will it even be at Haas? According to his uncle and F1 race winner Ralph, Mick Schumacher is among the candidates to replace Fernando Alonso and claim the vacant seat at Alpine next year. Alpine are no closer to finding Alonso's successor, as things stand after they were sensationally snubbed by their own reserve driver Oscar Piastri, who's reportedly set to join McLaren between now and the start of next season. The saga involving Alpine has seen a number of drivers mentioned in connection with the French outfit, as they look to appoint a new teammate for Esteban Ocon as a matter of priority. Ralph has since insisted that Schumacher is one of several candidates in the frame to succeed Alonso. Mick has not yet signed a contract, Ralph told the media when quizzed on Schumacher's short-term future with Haas. Therefore, he would be a candidate with speed as we've seen. Nico Hülkenberg is also still in the starting blocks. Then there is the question of Daniel Ricciardo. Personally, I can't imagine that he would get another chance in Formula 1, but I don't know who Alpine should take at the moment. While that Alpine seat remains vacant, Mick should be content to not sign a contract with Haas. Even with Antonio Giovinazzi coming in for a test drive later in the season, if Mick continues improving as he has this season, then he should be a shoo-in to sign into the second Haas seat for 2023. But while the Alpine seat is free, that should be his goal. He's ready to move his career forward, and Alpine is the perfect place to do that now. Do you think Mick should be worried about Haas getting Giovinazzi in for 2023? And where in the driver standings do you think he will finish this season? Let us know your opinion in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.